Welcome to Mrs. Thomas's Common Core Math videos. This is lesson 7. We're solving algebraic equations. We're going to use the tiles, and this time we're going to talk about one-step subtraction. If you haven't watched lesson 2 of this series, please go do it now. We treat subtraction in a very interesting way, and I'm not going to explain it again. So check out lesson 2 and then come on back and watch this one. Thank you. X minus 1 equals 4. The first thing we're going to do is get rid of the subtraction. Subtraction is equally confusing when we're trying to solve equations as it is when we're trying to subtract positive and negative numbers. So your best bet is to change it. I'm going to put a line through my equal sign. I showed you that in the last video, so I can separate my two halves. This equation is saying that x minus 1 is the same thing as 4. I know that x minus 1 is the same thing as combining an x and a negative 1. And this makes my algebra tiles useful. This one, not so much. So here I've got one positive x. I've got one negative 1 on this side of the equal sign. On the other side, I have 4 positive ones. 2, 3, 4. All right, let's get the x by itself. Let's isolate our variable. To do that, I've already got one x. I need no negative ones. To eliminate a negative 1, I'm going to need the exact same quantity of tiles, but the opposite sign. Instead of one negative 1, I'm going to add one positive 1. Whatever I do to one side, I do the same thing to the other. You can see I added one to this side, and I added one to this side, exactly the same thing, which keeps my equal sign equal. Here, I'm going to combine my like terms, bring my ones together, and they eliminate each other, getting the variable by itself, which is what I want. Here, I'm going to combine my like terms. They're all positive ones, so my answer is x equals positive 5. Here I have negative 2 equals x minus a negative 3. Let's draw my line through my equal sign. These are my two sides. X minus a negative 3 is exactly the same thing as negative 2. And the next thing I'm going to do is push that minus sign over. We never change a minus into a plus, but we do push everything over. Here's my minus a negative 3, and put a plus sign in front. And I'll bring down that negative 2. Minus a negative 3 is just the opposite of negative 3. The opposite of 3 negatives is 3 positives. So I can replace minus a negative 3 with a positive 3, and only now am I going to bring in my algebra tiles. So I want to simplify it to this step where I've got no subtraction, and if I have more than one minus sign on a term, I want to simplify that down to what it actually is equal to. So I got negative 2 equals x plus 3. I can see here's my variable, the thing I want to get by itself. So these 3 positive ones need to go. I can get rid of them by bringing in exactly the same number of negative ones. So I have 3 positive ones. I'm going to add 3 negative ones. Here, because I added 3 negative ones to this side, I'm going to add 3 negative ones to this side. When I combine like terms over here, as I planned, these ones are all eliminated, and I'm left with 1x. And over here, I've got 3 negative ones combined with 2 negative ones, which gives me 5 negative ones altogether. 6 minus x equals negative 3. Let's draw a line through the equal sign. Here's my two sides. 6 minus x is exactly the same thing as 3 negative ones. I am going to push over the minus sign and the x and put a plus in front of it. And I'm going to rewrite the whole thing so that I can see that this is actually 6 plus a negative x equals 3. A negative x? We haven't seen a negative x before, but hopefully if you've watched these videos, you could guess what I'm going to do. If this is a positive x, negative x is just the opposite. It's the opposite of a positive x. So I'm going to use the red side of my x algebra tile to represent negative x. The 6 is 6 positive ones. And I've got 3 negative ones over here. So I've got 6 positive ones plus 1 negative x is equal to 3 negative ones. First thing I'm going to do, I'm not going to worry about the fact that this is negative just yet, but I will have to deal with that before the end. I want to get it by itself first. First I'm going to get the variable by itself, and then I'm going to worry about the fact that it's negative. It is being combined with 6 positive ones. So in order to eliminate the 6 positive ones and have only 1 negative x left, I'm going to need 6 negative ones. And if I add 6 negative ones to this side, I'm going to add 6 negative ones to this side. All right, I've added my 6 negative ones to both sides. You can see that these 6 positive ones combined with these 6 negative ones give me nothing. So I've got just negative x left on this side. When I combine these together, it's all negative. So I'm just combining negative 3 with negative 6. I've got 9 negative ones altogether. So negative x equals negative 9. But we do not want to know what negative x is. We want to know what positive x is. Your goal is to get one positive x all by itself. But that's not that hard, right? We know to get a positive x, we just take the opposite of a negative x. We flip it over. Take the opposite. And if I take the opposite of this side, I'm going to take the opposite of everything on the other side. So, the opposite of a negative x is positive x. The opposite of 9 negative ones is 9 positive ones. My answer is x equals positive 9. Here's one to do on your own. Negative 1 equals x minus 4. Pause the video, give it a try, restart the video, and see if you get it right. All right. Here I've got my x. You can see that the first thing I did before I brought in any algebra tiles was push this minus 4 over and put a plus in front of it. So that I had negative 1 equals x plus negative 4. To get this variable by itself, I said, hey, look, this x is over on this side of the equal sign with 4 negative ones. Let's add 4 positive ones. If I do it to this side, I'm going to do exactly the same thing to that side. Here I can see that if I have the exact same number, opposite signs, they add to 0. And I'm left with just x over here. Here I've got this 1 negative 1 is going to pull away one of these positive ones. And I'm going to have 3 positive ones left. If you added positive 1 to both sides, my recommendation for you is before you do anything, find the variable. And then just kind of put your hand over the side that doesn't have the variable, because we don't care what's going on over here. Everything, all our decisions are going to be made by this side of the equal sign, the sign that contains that variable. All right, let's give you another one. Negative 5 equals negative 3 minus x. Give it a try. First thing I did, I rewrote negative 3 minus x as negative 3 plus a negative x. I just took this minus x, pushed it over to the side, and put a plus in front of it. So I had this. And then I saw that over here where my negative x is, I have 3 negative 1s. So before I deal with the fact that that's a negative x and not a positive x, I'm going to get rid of those 3 negative 1s. And I'm doing that by adding 3 positive 1s to both sides. Exactly the same quantity of 1s, opposite sign. Positive instead of negative. So these come together and eliminate each other. So on this side I'm left with, be careful, you are left with a negative x. You don't get to make this positive just because that's how you'd rather it be. Over here, each of these 3 positive 1s takes away from my 5 negative 1s, leaving me 2 negative 1s left. And don't forget your answer has to be a positive x isolated on one side of the equal sign. I'm just going to take the opposite of both sides. Remember, whatever we do to one side, we do to the other, whether it's adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing, or taking the opposite. The opposite of a negative x is a positive x. The opposite of 2 negative 1s is 2 positive 1s. So x equals positive 2.